Hello, guys. Welcome. It is Wednesday, December 9th. It is our second week of the month. Today is our interview with an expert. I have Matt Seymour sitting here with me on my side. I'm super excited for us to be here today because, like I said, we are going to be talking about all things, tax prep, yearly end prep, what we should be doing throughout the year with taxes, making sure that as investors, we're doing things the right way in order to make sure that we have the most profitable business as we can. And so before we get started, if this is your first time joining us, welcome. My name is Jen Green. I am part of Property House Partners. We are located here in the Twin Cities Metro in Minnesota. And we are real estate investors, but our main focus is really to help folks out of bad situations. So if they're stuck in a home that they can't sell for any reason, if they inherited a home, whether it's through a probate, if there's a divorce coming, an impending foreclosure, any of those situations where people are looking to sell for cash or terms, we're able to help them out. And so if you have a situation like that, give me a call. I actually just messaged with somebody the other day on Facebook Messenger. I had contacted her about helping her with a home that she inherited. And she said, you know what, actually, I have a friend of mine who has 2 houses that he inherited and he doesn't know what to do with them. Can you help him? And I was like, absolutely. So think about things that way, not just yourself, but people in your, in your network, maybe in your family or your friends that are having those issues too, and have them contact us. Even if you're not in Minnesota, we have connections all over. And so we're able to help in any way that we can. So, hi, Matt, how are you?
Doing well. How about you, Jen?
Good. So just for you guys too, I think I say this sometimes, is that I am not able to see the questions that come up. If you guys have live questions during this, post them in the comments, and then Katie's just going to send me a text message with them. I don't know, like if the platform changed or something on Facebook, but like I can't see anything. So I apologize if I end up looking down, but it's if Katie texted me, if you guys have questions, I want to maybe be able to make sure that we can answer them live. So Matt actually is our CFO for Property House. We brought him on, gosh, what was it? Maybe last spring, was it?
Right.
Yeah.
Spring sometime.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, he's kind of been a lifesaver for us. I think I've told you guys before, people need to be in their unique genius zones and do that and not do other stuff. And accounting is not my genius zone. I'm not terrible, right? I know what was going on in my business, but it's not something that I should be doing 24 hours a day, right? Not that Matt does, but Matt, if you want to just talk a little bit about your experience. I know we put your bio, in the link, but just so you could just give, the audience a little bit about you, and then we can get started.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been in the accounting world for the last 15, 16 years now. And I actually got my start with real estate investors. I actually had a friend who was rehabbing homes here, and I'm out of St. Louis. He was rehabbing homes here and he needed help because his back office was a mess. And so kind of grew out from there, and have always, because that's kind of where I got my start, I've just always worked with a lot of real estate investors. And, I started out with, mostly focusing on like, monthly accounting, bookkeeping, that kind of stuff. And over the years have been moving more towards like higher level CFO type services, in order to like really help business owners see how they're, how the business is running. Like how well is it performing? Where can I do better? How can I make better decisions and make more money? So.
Right. And so that kind of leads me actually into the first thing I wanted to bring up. And this is something that you taught me about that I wasn't really aware of this philosophy, but it's a profit first approach or a profit first mentality philosophy. That was something that was new for me when we first started talking. So I would love to just get that philosophy. And then as we go through all of these, different questions that we have to keep in mind that the point of it is obviously as a profit first mentality. So if you could just maybe get into that a little bit, I think that would be really helpful.
Right. Yeah, sure. Well, and profit first, at least when I think of it, I get the term from the book by Mike Michalowicz, which I highly recommend to any small business owner. And, I guess in a nutshell, I can't do the whole concept justice, but in a nutshell, the idea is like, as business owners, so many small business owners are used to paying themselves last. Like the entire, like even, it's even baked into like basic accounting principles, which is that, sales minus expenses equals profit. And, and as Mike talks about in his book, like it's, logically that makes sense, but psychologically it doesn't work well for us as humans because that profit comes last. We tend to, it tends to be the smallest thing, or the thing that, we take home after everything else is taken care of. Whereas like really, if you're getting into business, the idea should be that the business supports you and supports your lifestyle and, and rewards you for the risk of, all the risk and effort that goes into being a small business owner. So like kind of turning the accounting, the general accounting principles on their head and saying like, let's make sure that the business is like paying an adequate, like reasonable salary, owner's compensation to the business owners, and that they're, so first of all, like if you're operating the business, thinking about like what you would pay as a salary for somebody, if you had to hire somebody to replace you and do exactly what you're doing, what would you have to pay that person to do that, just out on the open market, and answer that question. And that's what the business should be paying you yourself. And then on top of that, the business should be able to pay you a profit on top of that, not just for the time and effort that you put into the business, but, profit as a reward for the risk and capital that you've invested into starting and continuing to run the business. And so, and I know just saying those things doesn't mean that the business can magically do them, can afford to pay them. But like the idea is, if the business is not able to, first of all, it's not like you snap your fingers and just magically start doing it. But like to start moving in that direction and really start looking at the business, from that perspective and saying like, well, if the business can't currently afford to do that and it can't, then what do we need to change to make that happen? Right. Because long term, like if the business isn't able to do that, then something's wrong. And you're not going to get to the place where, you won't magically wake up one day and like suddenly find that the business is like, hey, I can finally pay myself a reasonable wage, or like I can finally take the profit that I always wanted to out of the business. Like it's going to take intentional effort to get there. And so rather than just like, setting that as the intention right now and start looking at and evaluating the business from that perspective and saying like, what steps do I need to take the business from where it currently is, where like all of my money or like 90% of my money is going out the door to pay other people, to like start keeping more of that money to compensate me, the owner, for my time and to reward me profit wise, and like, continuing to look at the business and evaluate it through that lens so that, you can get to that place, intentionally and actually have it happen, as opposed to just like crossing your fingers and hoping that one day you get there.
Right. So, I mean, I think the other part too, we're talking about real estate investing. This really goes for anybody who's a business owner, that we should be thinking that way, because like you said, I mean, so many business owners think about themselves last because they're trying to get everything done. And that was something that I was absolutely doing too, because you want to take care of the people that are doing work with you, but you have to pay yourself. I mean, there's that little tidbit, and make sure that the business could move forward. So I wanted to start off with that because I think that's an important way to also think about how we're doing, just our expenses and taxes and preparing for that all year. And I think one of the biggest pitfalls maybe that some people, any business owner really falls into, is that, you can wait until that last quarter or December or even January into February. And then you're like, oh God, what did I'm not prepared at all. And so what do you think that, let's just say the, common business owner, perhaps at this point, maybe who doesn't have a CFO or who does, right? What do you think we should be doing throughout the year to really prepare ourselves to make sure that we do our taxes properly in order to like not only enhance profits, but well, do them right? I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Sure. Sure. Well, and let me say at the outset too, I know we talked a little bit about this, but like I don't consider myself a tax expert. It's not my area of expertise, like, or something I focus on, but it is something that I've learned enough through experience over the years that, I know more than enough to be dangerous in the area. So with that being said, I guess I think the best thing that you can do really is one, have good accounting records. Have your numbers together, like whether it's QuickBooks or some other system, having that, whether it's you or like, probably in most cases, it should be somebody else other than the business owner, both because most owners don't like doing bookkeeping, accounting, aren't trained in it. And quite honestly, it's not, as you said, their genius zone. I mean, the business is going to, it's going to run better from them specializing on what they need, what they can do best, most of the time. So having somebody that is keeping your accounting system and records up to date in place throughout the year, and not just like scrambling to slam everything in at the end of the year, is going to be foundational to that. And then the other thing is, I think meeting and talking with your CPA throughout the year, as opposed to just at tax time. Because if you call your CPA and say like, hey, I want to set up a meeting with you December 15th and talk about what I can do tax planning wise, like, it's too late. I mean, there are definitely some things you can still do at that time, but like you hear all the I mean, every investor wants to save more in taxes, right? I mean, that's Who doesn't, but like, you're not going to get there by waiting until the last minute. And this kind of does tie into what we were talking about with the profit first mentality as well. It's like, and I think it also ties to like, I mean, anybody that's read Michael Gerber, The E-Myth, great book. Like it's the idea of working on your business and not all the time in it. I think that's tough for every small business owner. It's so time consuming to run the business that you don't have time to step back and make sure that the business is running well. And I think this area is very much a part of that. Like, meeting with your CPA, hopefully you have a good one that is open to doing that throughout the year. I mean, you do have some CPAs, tax preparers that like their whole business is set up to just grind out tax returns come tax time, and they're not really good with meeting and talking with people, and customer service is not so great. So like, if you have somebody like that, get somebody better, work with somebody who's willing to meet with you and talk about how the business is doing throughout the year, and do some tax planning with you, like talking about like, this is how the business is performing, and like, what can I do to, is it investing in my retirement accounts? Is it setting up an HSA? Is it doing this? Is it doing that? Like, really having somebody who is available to have an ongoing conversation with you throughout the year is, I mean, that's going to do more for you than just about anything. And I will say along those lines too, that I was hinting at this, but like, I think a lot of CPAs, it's hard to get that out of. Like, I mean, it's almost like you have to stay on top of that. If that's what you want, if that's a kind of service that you want, like, you're going to have to stay on top of your CPA to get that out of them. Because quite honestly, a lot of small business owners a lot of CPAs aren't used to working with small business owners that want that kind of support throughout the year. And so you're not going to just like call them one time. And I mean, it's going to be rare to find a CPA that you say like, hey, I want to meet with you throughout the year. And then they're like, okay, I'll, on top of it, I'll call you like on, 3 months from now and set something up. They're not going to do it. It's going to be on you to drive that forward and make sure that it happens. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you and I meet every other week, and then sometimes we talk more than that. And our meetings are usually 90 minutes, because we're planning and talking, and and I think that's one of the biggest changes that we've seen for us too. And then there were some other things that you kind of touched upon in there in terms of like HSA and, setting up insurance and like all of that kind of stuff. And so that makes me think, because this was one thing that you had talked to me about. And again, I'll self-admittedly say, like, I wasn't aware of it. We talked about just more or less like savings in what we can expense, or I think those are the things that we don't think outside of the box on so many times. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, like food, you can expense that because it's for the business, or materials or supplies or whatever it is. But then you and I started talking about health insurance, and maybe I'm naive with that stuff, but it's like, I don't think about those things because it's not like my company provides health insurance. So what do you think are some things that maybe that are out of the box that perhaps maybe some business owners, and even if you're just getting started, I mean, we haven't been around for super long, but what are some things that you think people could, I don't know, maybe help, enhance when it comes to, tax time and things like that, and savings and write-offs?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think some of it is, I don't think there are a lot of magic, silver bullets out there as far as tax deductions go. A lot of it is probably going to be things that you've heard before, but maybe you're not doing, like not taking advantage of, or just get missed because you don't have a good accounting system in place that captures all of it. So some of it is just, it starts, I think, with having a good accounting system in place that, are you capturing all of your business expenses? I mean, I know it sounds simple but like that's is foundational, and it does get missed a lot of the times. I think also making sure that, are you paying for any business expenses out of personal accounts or with cash? Not missing stuff like that. And like if you are getting away from that and running everything through a business account, debit card or a credit card, because it's going to be a lot easier for you or whoever handles your accounting to make sure that that's done when it's not, hidden away in some personal account that they never see. Beyond that, I think it is like, making contributions to retirement accounts and health savings accounts, obviously are big for entrepreneurs. I think those are some of the biggest things. Something that you mentioned, health insurance. So like there is let me pull this up. There's a client of mine that we did some health insurance stuff with. So basically, like if you you can get some tax advantages out of having your business pay for or reimburse you personally for health insurance premiums that you've paid throughout the year. Right. But you have to make sure that happens because, that it is run through a business account. Like the policy doesn't necessarily have to be set up in the name of the business. You don't necessarily have to be covering, a bunch of employees and have a plan that was established in the business's name. Like even if you're just a, solo entrepreneur running your business, the business can still pay for those health insurance premiums and get some tax benefit out of that. But you need to make sure that those expenses are running through the business. Otherwise, if you try and, claim it as a business expense, and if, the IRS finds out that, it was all paid by you personally and, you just wrote it up that way, then they can disallow it.
Okay.
So that'd be a big thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the other part too, is now we're coming to the end of the year. And obviously, if there's a change in administration, right, we don't really know what's happening there. But if that's the case, I know there's been a lot of people that have been talking about, putting things into a 1031 or, selling off a lot of their properties because you can carry those losses for the next 5 years. What are your thoughts on that? And is that really like a good, like way to save in taxes as an approach, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, obviously it depends on the particular situation that you're in. I definitely think talking it over with your CPA tax person would be very important to do, because they're going to know your situation a lot better. Sure. I guess one thought, and I haven't done a ton around 1031s and things like that. But I mean, I guess another thought I had was like, if there's a way to move any of that kind of thing into self-directed IRAs, or like, in that, I mean, I don't know, that might be difficult to shift like a property that you have now into a, I'm not an expert in that area either. If worst case scenario 1031s, go away or drastically, the benefit to them is, just reduced a lot. Like I do think our self-directed IRA investing is going to become a lot more important to learn about and start doing, because that's still, I mean, you can get a lot of tax reduction benefit out of working out of those. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And that's kind of I mean, because some people too, they're like, well, I can't do a self-directed IRA, but they could do a solo 401k, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. And a solo 401k is by the way, a great thing to look into if you are a business that doesn't have employees. Like they're just as an overall tax reduction strategy, you can get, I mean, depending on your situation, you can sock a lot more money into something like that than you could just a normal IRA. So definitely something worth investigating.
Okay. Yep. So to be honest, I mean, believe it or not, we're kind of at the end of our time here. That went by really fast.
Yeah, it did.
I know. So I wanted to just maybe think about some parting words, for folks that if they're really looking to save, on taxes, what are some key points that, business owners, obviously in this case, investors can do when it comes to tax season?
I guess it just to recap what we talked about, what we've been talking about, like I don't think of it as a, I think like the difference between like, if you want to be healthy, you're probably not going to get it by taking a pill every day. It's by like leading a healthier lifestyle. And I think the same way with your business, like it's, don't wait till the end of the year or ask, or expect that your CPA can wave a wand and, save you a bunch in taxes. Like, I think it's about running a better business all year long and being more aware of, how the business is performing financially and having those regular conversations with your tax professional to make sure that you're on track. And, and there's really, I think, a momentum that builds up to it over time as well. Like, maybe that first conversation that you have somebody isn't going to be, super productive, but as they, as both of you find a rhythm and get a better idea for how the business is functioning, I think you're going to find, the more that you have those conversations, the more that you can develop a really solid plan for how to reduce taxes and just operate the business more efficiently and profitably.
Okay. Well, I have one more thing to ask, actually. We had a question that came in from Jason Lund. He wanted to know more about the solo 401k. Is there any place that, people are watching and they wanted to learn more about that? Is there any place for them to go to look that up?
I don't have a great specific resource that I've found just on solo 401ks, but like I can, I don't know, I could look into that and, send it to you and send it out as a message afterwards, or sure. Like, or if you just Google solo 401k as well, like I think you'll find some, it's readily available information out there too.
Okay. Yeah. If you have any, good information that would be outside of Google or a site that you like to use that has some good info, I'll have Matt send it to me and then I'll post it here in the comments after, so you guys can always come back and check it out. Thank you so much, Matt. This was really great. I can now see the comments for some reason. I don't know why I can see them now, but a lot of people are very appreciative of the information that you provided. If you guys also have more questions or want to talk to Matt, about accounting services and CFOing, and any of that kind of stuff, feel free to reach out to him. His info is here in the comments. He's a plethora of information. Like I said, he's made a real difference for us in our business, and I'm super appreciative of that. So thank you, Matt. Thanks. Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So next week, you guys, it is going to be week 3. We talk about the housing market, COVID updates, eviction moratoriums, all that kind of stuff. There is going to be an announcement here in Minnesota, especially next week. Usually it's once a month where we see if our governor is going to extend our peacetime emergency. So a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about next week in that. So I hope to see you guys then. If you have any questions, comments, anything like that, and you weren't able to watch live, please reach out to us. Katie's also putting our contact information in here as well. And then also, if you're an expert and you want to be interviewed by me on here, please reach out. I'm happy to do this and spread the word to folks, talk about you, your business, what you can do, and then all the expertise that you have. When it comes to real estate, investing or business entrepreneurship, that type of thing, I'm happy to do that with you. So there's going to be also a page on here too that you can click on if you want to contact us that way. And then, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next week. All right. Thanks so much, you guys. And we will see you next week. Bye.